Ancient peoples possessed remarkable astronomical knowledge that even today's scientists find astonishing. For instance, the Maya were able to calculate the length of the solar year with an accuracy of up to 20 seconds. They developed complex calendars like the Tzolk'in and Hab, which took into account both solar and lunar cycles. Given that there are 12 lunar cycles in a year, they synchronized their observations with the seasons, allowing them to predict planting and harvesting times. The Babylonians, on the other hand, predicted lunar eclipses based on their observations of the sky. Babylonian astronomers recorded data on celestial phenomena on clay tablets, which was useful not only for astronomy, but also for politics, as eclipses were seen as omens. The builders of Newgrange in Ireland created a megalithic structure that was illuminated by sunlight through a narrow window on the day of the winter solstice, emphasizing their connection to the sun and its cycles. This structure was used as an observatory where people gathered to witness the light entering at specific times of the year, creating an atmosphere of awe and unity with nature. The Antikythera mechanism, found on a ship of the same name in Greece, is an ancient calculating device used to predict the movements of celestial bodies. This device, dating back to the 1st century BC, could predict solar and lunar eclipses, as well as planetary movements, which was an extraordinary achievement for its time. The night sky, as seen by ancient observers, inspired them to create myths and legends, while the silence of temple observatories allowed them to focus on their observations, evoking a sense of awe at the grandeur of the cosmos. It is important to note that astronomical knowledge was not just a scientific achievement, but also an integral part of the culture and religion of these peoples, shaping their understanding of the world and their place in it. Astronomical phenomena such as eclipses and seasonal changes were seen as omens that could influence the fate of entire civilizations. It is astonishing that ancient civilizations demonstrated remarkable precision in orienting their structures relative to astronomical events, which often seems almost magical. For instance, the Temple of Abu Simbel, built during the reign of Pharaoh Rameses II in the 13th century BC, is illuminated by the sun twice a year, on February 6th and October 22nd, such that its statues, depicting the pharaoh and gods, are bathed in sunlight. This effect is achieved because the temple was carved into the rock with consideration for the solar cycle, and its long corridor is precisely aligned with the sunrise at these key moments. This spectacle leaves viewers breathless. Light penetrates the space, creating a dance of shadows and light that fills the temple with a mystical glow, while the sounds of awestruck whispers from modern observers add an atmosphere of sacred reverence. No less impressive is the Pyramid of Kukulkan in Chichen Itza, built between the 9th and 12th centuries AD. Each year, during the spring and autumn equinoxes, when the sun stands directly over the equator, the shadows from the pyramid staircase create the illusion of a serpent descending the sides of the structure. This effect is achieved through a clever design, allowing viewers to witness Kukulkan, the god of rain and fertility, seemingly descending to earth, evoking wonder and admiration among local residents and tourists. During these moments, crowds gather on the plaza before the pyramid, frozen in anticipation as light and shadow intertwine, creating a magical spectacle that has served as a symbol of unity between humanity and the cosmos for centuries. Stonehenge, built between the 13th and 10th centuries BC, is another striking example of astronomical precision. On the summer solstice, usually around June 21st, sunlight passes through the central stone, creating a remarkable sight as light passes through the arch and falls on the ground. This phenomenon draws large crowds who, standing among the ancient stones, feel a sense of awe at the grandeur of nature and ancient architecture. The sounds of awestruck whispers and joyful exclamations fill the air as observers share their impressions of this unique event. Each of these structures is not just a collection of stones, but true astronomical observatories that served ancient people not only for rituals, but also for understanding time, natural cycles, and their place in the world. These constructions demonstrate the high level of knowledge that ancient civilizations had in astronomy and architecture, and their ability to unite people in these moments underscores the importance of astronomical phenomena in the cultural and spiritual life of society. Understanding these aspects opens doors to a deeper study of their culture and technologies, which, despite the centuries, continue to inspire awe and wonder. Deep beneath the earth in Cappadocia, Turkey, entire cities are hidden, capable of housing thousands of people. These subterranean structures, such as Derinkuyu and Kaymakli, have up to 20 levels of depth and comprise a complex network of tunnels and chambers, totaling over 100 kilometers in length. Archaeologists like Dr. Philip Straub, who has been studying these cities since the early 2000s, have found that each of these underground systems has a well-thought-out infrastructure. Ventilation shafts providing fresh air, wells for water access, and massive stone doors used for protection against enemies. These doors weighed up to 3 tons and could seal off tunnel entrances in minutes. There are several theories about the purpose of these underground cities. One of the most prevalent is that they served as shelters for local residents during enemy raids. For example, in the 3rd century BC, when Cappadocia lay at the crossroads of trade routes, its inhabitants could hide from conquerors like the Romans or Persians. Other researchers suggest that the underground cities were used for wine storage and production, as the climate underground is ideal for this. In some chambers, archaeologists have found traces of wine presses and amphoras dating back to the 1st century AD. Another intriguing theory is that these cities were religious centers, where local communities gathered for rituals and ceremonies. Descending into these catacombs, the cool air embraces you, creating a sense of protection from the outside world. The sound of footsteps is muffled, and you hear only the soft rustling as air passes through narrow tunnels. The flickering of torches on the walls of volcanic tuff creates an enchanting atmosphere, allowing you to imagine how people lived here hundreds and thousands of years ago. To date, only a small portion of the underground cities has been explored, and scientists continue to discover new passages and chambers, indicating that these mysterious structures hold many more secrets. For instance, in 2019, archaeologists found a new level in the underground city of Derinkuyu that had been hidden beneath the earth for nearly 2,000 years. Imagine, 2.5 millennia ago, in Mesopotamia, a unique artifact was created, now known as the Baghdad Battery. This device consists of a clay vessel containing a copper cylinder, inside which is an iron rod. Archaeologists date this artifact to around the 3rd century BC, challenging our understanding of ancient civilizations' technologies. When filled with an electrolyte, such as vinegar or lemon juice, it can generate a small voltage, as confirmed by modern scientists' experiments. Research conducted in the 20th century revealed that with the right solution, the battery can produce a voltage of about 1 volt. This discovery has sparked numerous theories about the possible uses of the Baghdad Battery. Some researchers suggest it could have been used for electroplating metals, allowing ancient people to create decorative items with gold and silver coatings. Others propose medical applications, such as relieving pain from diseases or preventing infections. More exotic ideas involve its use in religious rituals, where the device could create an effect of miracles using electrical discharges. Holding this artifact in your hands means feeling the weight of history and technology. The dull metal evokes a sense of antiquity, and the slight tingling when in contact with the working device might have been felt by its users. The Baghdad Battery is not just an interesting artifact, but also a testament to the fact that ancient people had access to technologies that we are only beginning to comprehend. The phenomenon of the Baghdad Battery makes us ponder how much we do not know about the past and how far ancient civilizations could have advanced in their scientific pursuits. In ancient texts from various cultures, there are remarkably similar descriptions of divine chariots that stir the interest of researchers. In the Vedas, the sacred texts of Indian culture, there are descriptions of vimanas, flying machines capable of traversing great distances. In the Mahabharata, there is a mention of Krishna's chariot, which shines brightly and is surrounded by thunder, creating an atmosphere of grandeur and power. In the Bible, in the book of the prophet Ezekiel, we find a description of a chariot with 4 living creatures and wheels that seem to move on their own, and the wheels were full of fire. This creates a vivid visual image, infusing the text with energy and dynamism. Sumerian texts, such as the Epic of Gilgamesh, also contain references to divine objects capable of flight, raising the question of how ancient peoples perceived celestial phenomena. Erich von Däniken, a Swiss writer and researcher known for his theories on ancient cosmic contacts, asserts that these descriptions could be evidence of encounters with extraterrestrial beings. He suggests that the gods described in these texts could have been aliens using advanced technologies that ancient people did not understand. The opposite viewpoint argues that these descriptions are metaphorical and serve to explain natural phenomena such as lightning or hurricanes, rather than being evidence of mechanical devices. The appearance of these chariots in texts is often accompanied by bright light, thunder, and strong wind, creating an atmosphere of mystery and power, which may indicate how ancient people interpreted their impressions of natural disasters. In Sumerian reliefs, one can sometimes see deities seated in these chariots, adding another layer to the mystery. These descriptions are typically rich in colorful details that evoke a sense of grandeur and enigma in the reader. The Sumerians used symbolism to convey their ideas about the interaction between humans and gods and nature, making their texts unique and complex to interpret. Comparing these descriptions reveals similarities between different cultures, from Mesopotamia to India, showing how human minds have tried to explain the inexplicable through gods and myths. It is important to note that these interpretations can vary, and sometimes it is difficult to distinguish myth from reality, which is what makes this topic so fascinating to study. In ancient Greek myths, one can also find references to divine chariots, indicating the widespread nature of this motif. For example, the sun god Helios is described as driving a chariot that moves across the heavens, illuminating the earth. Such images convey a sense of divine intervention in human life and emphasize the mythological significance of celestial phenomena. In the Nag Hammadi texts, discovered in Egypt in 1945, there are references to heavenly beings that can also be interpreted as flying objects. The wealth of this data makes research in this area particularly intriguing, opening up new perspectives for discussion. Ancient civilizations left behind not only architectural masterpieces, but also enigmatic artifacts that sometimes make us ponder the possibility of contact with extraterrestrial civilizations. For instance, in the petroglyphs found in the Nazca Desert in Peru, figures are depicted that remarkably resemble modern astronauts with helmets and spacesuits. These images, dating back approximately 2,000 years, raise numerous questions about how ancient people perceived technologies that were beyond their reach. In the Vedic texts of India, there are mentions of vimanas, flying machines capable of traversing the sky and even space. Some researchers claim that these descriptions resemble modern concepts of spacecraft. Figures resembling astronauts were also found on Mayan reliefs, adding another chapter to this complex history. Medieval frescoes in Europe, for example, depict flying saucers, which also raise the question, could people of that time have witnessed something otherworldly? Proponents of the paleocontact theory point to the sudden appearance of complex technologies in various civilizations, such as the Egyptian pyramids or the megalithic structures in Britain, and argue that such achievements could be the result of interaction with more advanced beings. Some of them refer to artifacts like the golden idols of the ancient Incas, which in their view could be images of extraterrestrials. However, the scientific community is skeptical of these theories, asserting that many of these evidences can be explained by human creativity and cultural interpretation. Scientific critics emphasize that the lack of solid evidence and the abundance of speculation make such theories unlikely. Imagine how ancient people might have reacted to encountering beings with technologies they could not even comprehend. A sense of awe and fear of the unknown attempts to explain these phenomena through their myths and beliefs. One striking example is the Codex Trocadero, which depicts creatures with large heads and small bodies, further highlighting the ancient fascination with extraterrestrial life forms. These images, found in Mexico and dating back approximately 1,000 years, have unclear features that leave researchers baffled about their significance. Comparing such artifacts from different corners of the world creates a compelling picture where reality and myth intertwine, and the boundary between them becomes increasingly blurred. Vedic texts describe not only technologies, but also divine battles where gods used vimanas in their fights, which remarkably resemble modern science fiction plots. Mentions of such flying machines can be interpreted as memories of real events, although many scientists insist that these are merely metaphors. It is interesting to note that in many cultures, there are similar stories about heavenly visitors, which may indicate a common human predisposition to seek answers to questions about our place in the universe. The study of these artifacts and texts opens doors to a world where the boundaries between reality and myth are erased, leaving room for conjecture and speculation. In this context, it is worth paying attention to the work of researchers like Erich von Däniken, who in his book, Chariots of the Gods, raises the question of whether ancient civilizations could have interacted with extraterrestrial entities. His approach, despite the criticism it receives, makes us reconsider how we perceive history and what our ancestors might have seen when looking at the night sky. Each of us has at least once pondered the mysteries of antiquity, and Stonehenge is not just a pile of stones. It is a book written millions of years ago. This megalithic complex, located in Wiltshire, England, consists of massive stone blocks, some weighing up to 50 tons. The question of how these colossal boulders were transported from distances up to 240 kilometers remains unanswered. Research shows that some stones were quarried from stone quarries in Pembroke and others from deposits in Salisbury. The transportation process could have involved the use of wooden sleds, ropes, and even water to reduce friction, although the specific methods remain a mystery. But not only the physical aspect of Stonehenge's construction intrigues historians and archaeologists. The astronomical alignment of the stones suggests that this complex could have served as an ancient observatory. The precise positioning of the stones indicates the points of sunrise and sunset on the summer and winter solstices, suggesting that our ancestors used it to track time and natural cycles. Some researchers, such as Dr. Joshua Freeman from the University of Leeds, propose that Stonehenge was a ritual center where important ceremonies related to life and death were conducted. The whispering of the wind between the stones creates an atmosphere of mystery, and even on the warmest days, the chill from the giant boulders is palpable. Sunlight filters between the stones at specific times of the year, creating extraordinary light effects that could have had symbolic significance for ancient people. Stonehenge may also have been a place of healing, where people gathered hoping for divine intervention. There are numerous theories, each opening new horizons for understanding this ancient wonder. By the 14th century BC, Stonehenge was already known as a sacred place, and even then, its scale and grandeur inspired awe. Some historians suggest that its construction could have taken hundreds or even thousands of years. This place is not just stones, it is a reflection of human thought striving to understand its place in the world. In archaeological excavations conducted in recent decades, scientists have found artifacts such as pottery and tools that confirm that Stonehenge was a center of life for ancient people. 80 years ago, in 1930, significant excavations were conducted here, revealing new aspects of its purpose. These findings continue to inspire scholars, and each new artifact adds its own note to this multi-voiced symphony of history. The stones of Stonehenge, witnesses to millennia, continue to keep their secrets, waiting for human intelligence to unravel their mysteries. The ancient Egyptians created a unique work known as the Book of the Dead, which was a collection of spells, hymns, and instructions designed to assist the souls of the deceased in their journey through the afterlife, the Duat. This sacred text, consisting of more than 200 spells, was written on papyrus and placed in tombs with the deceased to provide them with protection and guidance in their transition to the afterlife. One of the key concepts in Egyptian mythology was the weighing of the heart before Osiris, the god of the underworld. According to their beliefs, the heart of the deceased was placed on a scale, where it was compared to the feather of Maat, a symbol of truth and justice. If the heart was lighter than the feather, the soul could enter the fields of Aru, where eternal life was enjoyed in happiness and abundance. Conversely, if the heart was heavier, the soul faced a terrible fate, being devoured by the demon Amit. In preparation for the afterlife, particular attention was paid to mummification, which was not just a ritual, but a complex process aimed at preserving the body for eternal existence. First, the body was treated with natron and dried. Then the internal organs were removed and placed in special containers called canopic jars, symbolizing protection from decay. Next, the body was wrapped in linen bandages and placed in a sarcophagus, which was adorned with vibrant paintings and spells from the Book of the Dead. Tombs were filled with numerous items for life after death, including food, drink, and personal belongings that the soul might need in the afterlife. Funeral rituals were conducted with solemnity. Priests recited spells, flickering torches illuminated the dark burial chambers, and participants believed in the continuation of life after death, giving each detail special significance. For centuries, Egyptian culture preserved these traditions, convinced that spiritual existence continued life, and death was merely a transition to a new reality. The Book of the Dead became a crucial source of knowledge about the afterlife and reflected the deep connection Egyptians had with their religious beliefs. Surviving examples, such as the Book of the Dead of Huena, dating back to around the 13th century BCE, provide insight into how ancient Egyptians perceived not only life but also death, prompting us to consider the depth of their philosophy. In the mountains of China, in isolated caves, mysterious granite discs with a diameter of about 30 centimeters, a central hole, and spiral grooves reminiscent of micro-engraving were found. These artifacts, known as the dropped stone discs, were discovered in 1938 by archaeologist Chi-Pu Te. His discovery caused a sensation, sparking numerous debates and discussions among scientists. The discs bear complex patterns that some researchers interpret as ancient inscriptions detailing the crash of a spacecraft. However, many scientists are convinced that this story is a hoax, lacking any real basis. The remoteness of the area where the discs were found adds to the mystery of this discovery. The high mountains and inaccessible caves create an atmosphere of mystery, and it seems that touching these artifacts is like touching something potentially extraterrestrial. The spiral patterns carved on the surface of the discs evoke associations with ancient knowledge, or even with unknown civilizations that may have existed before us. These artifacts raise many questions among researchers. What do they mean? What is their true nature? For many years, various groups have tried to decipher the inscriptions, but without success. Some experts suggest that the discs could have been part of a ritual or even served as a navigation tool. For example, some researchers believe that the spiral patterns could indicate star systems or be used for predicting astronomical events. However, the lack of definitive evidence and conflicting interpretations add to the complexity of understanding these artifacts. While some scientists insist on their authenticity, others are convinced that the discs are simply a forgery created to attract attention to mysterious findings. Nevertheless, fascination with the dropped stone discs continues to thrive, inspiring both researchers and enthusiasts of mysteries. Interest is also fueled by cultural myths about ancient civilizations that may have possessed knowledge inaccessible to modern humans. In this context, the discs become not only objects of study, but also elements of cultural heritage, into which questions about our place in the world and what we know about the past are woven. These artifacts, without a doubt, continue to spark controversy and intrigue opinions, and their true nature remains a subject of discussion and exploration. Some researchers even propose that the discs could have been connected to ancient people's contacts with extraterrestrial civilizations, adding another layer of mystery to their history. The study of the dropped stone discs opens up vast horizons for further research and leads to a new understanding of ancient artifacts. It is interesting to note that in recent years, some researchers have begun using modern technologies such as 3D scanning for more detailed study of the patterns on the discs, which could lead to new discoveries. With each new discovery, the history of the dropped stone discs becomes even more complex and multifaceted. Archaeology, as a science, always lives in tension between facts and interpretations, and the dropped stone discs serve as a vivid example of this dynamism. On the slopes of the barren hills of Atacama, one of the driest places on Earth, stands a giant geoglyph known as the Giant of Atacama. This anthropomorphic drawing, with a height of approximately 190 meters, is an extraordinary creation of ancient people who likely made it between the 3rd and 1st millennia BCE. The geoglyph is executed in a technique reminiscent of earth carving. Dark lines of the figure stand out sharply against the light sand, creating a striking contrast that makes it visible from afar. In the process of creating the geoglyph, artists removed the top layer of soil, revealing darker ground, which gave the figure clarity and expressiveness. There are various theories about the purpose of this mysterious symbol. One of the most widespread is the assumption that the Giant of Atacama served as an astronomical marker, helping ancient people orient themselves by the stars and track changes in the seasons. Another theory suggests that this image is related to a fertility cult, possibly serving as a sign for a deity to whom local residents paid homage. Some researchers even propose that the giant could indicate the location of water sources, which would be particularly important for survival in such an arid landscape as Atacama. The Giant of Atacama seems to have been left for observers from above, creating a sense of an ancient message encrypted in the sands of time. The hot desert air, where bright shades of blue and yellow merge in the boundless sky, enhances the impression of this monumental work of art. The desolate landscape around adds an air of mystery, and anyone who finds themselves near this geoglyph feels part of something greater than just human existence. The Giant of Atacama, with its clear lines and scale, makes one ponder the thoughts and intentions of those who created it. Additionally, it attracts the attention of archaeologists and researchers who continue to study its meaning and the context in which it was created. The giant has become an object of study not only for scientists, but also for tourists eager to touch ancient history preserved on these barren lands. With each new discovery around the Giant of Atacama, scientists get closer to understanding how ancient cultures adapted to the harsh conditions of the desert and how they left their marks on this land. In the valley of the Indus River, where cities once flourished, similar to today's megacities, a civilization thrived, leaving behind enigmatic ruins of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro. These cities were true masterpieces of engineering. Streets were laid out in a precise grid, and houses were built from fired brick, making them more resistant to adverse conditions. The drainage system they developed could rival many modern cities. Wastewaters were channeled into special ditches, and each house had its own toilet, which was a remarkable achievement at the time. They used standardized weights and measures for trade, indicating a high level of economic relations. However, with the disappearance of this civilization, mysteries began to emerge. Various theories exist about the causes of its decline. Changes in river courses that flooded fields and disrupted agriculture, climatic changes leading to droughts, invasions by Aryan tribes that could have disrupted peaceful ways of life, and epidemics that depleted the population. Mohenjo-Daro, with its impressive citadel, likely played a significant role in the city's life. This structure towered over surrounding buildings and could serve as both a center of power and a strategic refuge. Additionally, the Great Bath of this city, surrounded by walls and equipped with a complex water supply system, was probably used for ritual ablutions, underscoring the importance of water in the culture of this civilization. Imagine the bustle of crowded streets where merchants hawk their wares, and the air is filled with the scents of spices and fresh fruits. However, over time, these streets became desolate, markets emptied, and workshops fell silent, awaiting a rebirth that never came. Research shows that by 2335 BCE, Mohenjo-Daro was already abandoned, and Harappa followed suit, leaving only the shadows of its former glory. In the tropical forests of Costa Rica, scattered are hundreds of mysterious stone spheres that are astonishing in their perfection. These spheres vary in size from several centimeters to 2.5 meters in diameter and can weigh up to 16 tons. Most of them are made of granodiorite, which gives them a characteristic gray color and strength. The remarkable precision of their spherical shape raises many questions. How could ancient craftsmen achieve such ideal sphericity in conditions where modern technologies do not always succeed in replicating this result? Scientific research shows that the spheres are arranged in strict geometric patterns, indicating a high level of mathematical and astronomical knowledge among the ancient inhabitants of the region. There are many theories about their purpose. Some researchers suggest that these spheres could have served as astronomical markers, helping to track the movements of celestial bodies. Others believe they were symbols of status, demonstrating the power and influence of local rulers. There are also hypotheses that the stone spheres could have been used as navigational aids for tribes traveling through dense jungles. The humid air of the tropical forest, filled with the sounds of wild nature, creates a contrast between the ideal forms of these stone objects and the chaotic vegetation around them. Each sphere, lying among vines and ancient trees, seems to whisper about the mysteries that remain unsolved. Some spheres were found on territories that in ancient times could have been centers of communal life, adding to their aura of mystery. Local people, steeped in centuries of tradition, still pass down legends about them, adding more intrigue to this ancient enigma. Research conducted by archaeologists such as Dr. Richard Carey indicates that the stone spheres may be part of a broader cultural system connected with rituals and beliefs of ancient tribes. Each time we pay attention to these stone constructions, we encounter questions about the knowledge and skills of their creators and how they interacted with the surrounding nature. No other place on Earth can boast such a concentration of these unique objects, which continue to inspire awe and research interest among scientists and tourists from around the world. In Costa Rica, every encounter with these ancient spheres becomes not just a journey into the past, but a true immersion into a world of mysteries that may never be fully unraveled. Imagine ancient cities where water flowed through aqueducts, much like life, permeating every corner of these metropolises. Roman aqueducts, such as the Aqua Appia, built in 350 BC, were true engineering marvels, capable of transporting water over distances of up to 100 kilometers. These structures, consisting of arches and canals, not only supplied water to residents, but also served as symbols of the power of the Roman Empire. The water flowing in the aqueducts reminded us that civilization could overcome distances and obstacles. Meanwhile, in Mohenjo-Daro, one of the earliest cities of the Indus Valley civilization, archaeologists discovered a unique sewage system, the age of which exceeds 4,000 years. This system consisted of a network of underground pipes that collected wastewater, ensuring the cleanliness of streets and preventing the spread of diseases. Each pipe, made of fired clay bricks, was connected to street drains, which was revolutionary for its time. On Crete, the Minoans also excelled in water supply. They built terracotta water pipes that provided access to fresh water for the population. In some places, archaeologists found toilets with a flushing system that worked on the principle of modern ones, which is astonishing for a society that existed more than 3,000 years ago. In Rome, public baths like the Thermae of Caracalla were true centers of social life. These massive buildings with marble columns and vaulted ceilings not only offered opportunities for hygienic procedures, but also provided spaces for socializing and relaxation. The echo of water falling into pools filled the space, creating an atmosphere of solitude and tranquility amidst the city's bustle. The contrast between the clean flowing water and the dusty streets filled with people and animals was striking. In these ancient cities, life flowed like water, and engineering systems became the foundation for their existence, allowing them to thrive for centuries. Water, essential for life, was not just a resource, but also a symbol of progress and civilization, which knew how to find solutions to the most complex problems. In the caves of Liguria, in northern Italy, mysterious cave paintings have been discovered, dating back approximately 30,000 years. These images depict strange figures that resemble modern submarines. The smooth, streamlined forms with distinctive protrusions and details are inexplicable, as if they came straight out of a science fiction film. The paintings were found deep within the caves, where the temperature consistently remains at 10 degrees Celsius, and light penetrates only through narrow cracks in the ceiling, creating a mysterious atmosphere. The soft light from torches reflects off the damp walls, making these ancient images even more enigmatic. Researchers studying these artifacts offer various interpretations. Some believe they are evidence of ancient technologies that may have existed long before our time, possibly hints at underwater research or even contact with extraterrestrial civilizations. Other researchers provide more rational explanations, suggesting that these are stylized images of boats or animals, perhaps dolphins or large fish, reflecting the way of life of people at that time. For example, renowned archaeologist Professor Laura Martelli from the University of Genoa claims that these paintings could be part of rituals connected to the sea, where ancient people depicted their companions and hunting trophies. However, no interpretation can definitively explain these mysterious figures. The atmosphere of the cave, with its cold air and dim light, makes any visitor feel like a part of eternity, as if they themselves are witnesses to those distant times. Some of the paintings are up to 2 meters long, raising questions about how and by whom they were created. These artifacts are not just images, they are portals to the past, filled with mysteries and unsolved riddles that attract researchers from around the world. Inspired by these discoveries, scientists continue to explore the caves, hoping to find additional evidence and unravel the secrets that have been hidden for millennia. The enigmatic Sphinx, standing on the plateau of Giza, captivates not only by its grandeur, but also by the questions it raises about its true history. Some researchers, such as geologist Robert Schoch, claim that the erosion marks on its body suggest an age older than officially accepted. According to him, the characteristic deep erosion marks could have been caused not by sandstorms, as is commonly believed, but by prolonged periods of rain that could have occurred in the region more than 10,000 years ago. This theory is based on the analysis of the rock from which the Sphinx was carved, indicating that it could have existed in conditions where the climate was significantly wetter than it is now. If we follow this logic, we can assume that the Sphinx was created during an era when the Earth experienced climate changes unlike those of the present time. The astronomical alignment of the Sphinx with the constellation Leo also raises questions about its age. According to astronomical calculations, the Sphinx was aligned with the constellation Leo around 10,500 years before our era, which challenges traditional views of its construction. In that era, when the Sphinx looked at Leo, human civilization was just beginning to form, and such ambitious architectural projects as this one would have been impossible without a developed culture and technologies. The sun, breaking through the clouds, plays on the weathered stone, creating an effect of light and shadow on its mysterious face. This silent majesty, impervious to time, evokes in the imagination of viewers a sense of profound antiquity that cannot be ignored. Around the Sphinx, there is an atmosphere of mystery, and many elements of its construction seem not just works of art, but riddles that challenge traditional historical narratives. Research conducted in the last decades shows that many aspects of its construction remain unexplained, and each new look at this monument opens new horizons for research. There are many theories about how and by whom the Sphinx was built, but none of them can fully explain its true purpose and the time of its creation. Scientific debates about the Sphinx continue to this day, attracting the attention of both scientists and history enthusiasts who strive to unravel the mysteries of antiquity. The Sphinx, as a silent witness to millennia, continues to stand on guard, observing the changes taking place around it. The Great Sphinx of Giza, a majestic monument, stands as a guardian of ancient secrets on the plateau of Giza, awe-inspiring with its immense scale. It is 73 meters long and 20 meters high. This monolithic giant is carved from limestone, making it both impressive and vulnerable to the passage of time. It is believed that the Sphinx was created during the reign of Pharaoh Khafra, around 2,500 years before our era, making it one of the oldest known monuments in human history. Despite its stone nature, its eyes seem to tell a story, while its weathered features recount the centuries of hardships and trials. Scholars propose various theories about the function of the Sphinx. Some see it as a guardian of the necropolis. Others believe it to be a representation of a solar deity, while others view it as an astronomical marker indicating the precise time of day. A unique aspect is the Dream of Thutmosis, the legend of how Pharaoh Thutmosis IV, sleeping at the Sphinx's feet, saw a dream of a god who prophesied his ascension to the throne. These myths and legends add another layer of mystery to this ancient monument. Research suggests that hidden chambers may lie beneath the Sphinx's paws, which have yet to be discovered, further fueling interest in further excavations. The interplay of light and shadow on its face at different times of the day creates a captivating atmosphere. In the morning, the Sphinx seems to awaken from a long sleep, while in the evening, its silhouette becomes particularly enigmatic against the sunset. These details underscore the sense of antiquity and grandeur that permeates the entire structure, making it not just a monument, but a symbol of an entire epoch. 80 years ago, in the 1930s, archaeologists discovered the remains of ancient temples near the Sphinx, further enhancing the interest in this place and its history. In Colombia, among the artifacts of the Quimbaya culture, mysterious golden objects have been discovered that cause wonder and debate among scientists. These small figurines, crafted from pure gold, have triangular wings and a vertical stabilizer, giving them a resemblance to modern airplanes. Their shape resembles a fuselage, and many researchers note the remarkable similarity to principles of aerodynamics. Experiments with creating scaled models based on these artifacts have shown that they can demonstrate aerodynamic stability, raising questions about the technologies available to ancient civilizations. Some scientists, such as Dr. Jose A. Carrillo, suggest that these figurines may represent ancient flying machines known to the Quimbaya, while others view them as stylized depictions of birds or insects, highlighting the richness of the imagination and artistic traditions of this people. The gleam of gold under museum lights creates a captivating effect, emphasizing the elegance of lines characteristic of ancient jewelry craftsmanship. This contrast between primitive manufacturing techniques and the futuristic appearance of the artifacts underscores the complexity and multi-layered nature of Quimbaya culture. These golden airplanes, found in tombs and sanctuaries, speak to the high level of skill of the jewelers of that time, who used techniques such as casting and filigree to create such detailed and expressive forms. The quantity of found artifacts, including over 100 figurines, indicates their important role in rituals and beliefs of the Quimbaya. There are even suggestions that these items were used as amulets to protect against evil spirits during travel, further emphasizing their symbolic significance. Such diverse interpretations open new horizons for understanding not only the Quimbaya culture, but also the entire pre-Columbian America. In ancient times, the Library of Alexandria was not merely a repository of books, but a true symbol of knowledge and wisdom. Founded in the 3rd century BC during the Ptolemaic dynasty, it became the center of scientific thought and culture, housing up to 700,000 scrolls, including works by great philosophers, mathematicians, and astronomers. The library was actively replenished through a unique information-gathering system. Copies of all texts were made from every ship that arrived in the port. This meant that each new scroll became part of this great collection, preserving the wealth of knowledge from the ancient world. Within the library's walls, an atmosphere reigned that is hard to describe in words. The rustling of papyrus scrolls, the scent of parchment, and the soft glow of oil lamps illuminating ancient texts created a truly magical feeling. However, despite its grandeur, the Library of Alexandria did not escape a tragic fate. Various versions of its destruction are debated among historians. One of the most famous accounts states that during the siege of Alexandria by Julius Caesar in 81 BC, part of the library was burned when he ordered the enemy ships in the harbor to be set ablaze. Other sources claim that the library was destroyed by order of the Caliph Omar in the 7th century. There is also the belief that the library gradually fell into decline due to political and economic changes in the region. As a result of these catastrophic events, an immense wealth of knowledge was lost to humanity. It is difficult to imagine how many unique scrolls and texts will never be read again. The once magnificent and vibrant Library of Alexandria now exists only in memory and legend, leaving behind a faint trail of mystery and loss. In the heart of Mexico lies Teotihuacan, a magnificent city built between the 1st and 8th centuries of our era. This complex, covering approximately 20 square kilometers, was one of the largest cities of its time and remains a mystery to scholars today. The pyramids of the sun and the moon, towering above the earth, are awe-inspiring in their scale and construction. The Pyramid of the Sun, with a height of around 60 meters, is one of the largest in the world, and its base covers approximately 80,000 square meters. The Pyramid of the Moon, though smaller, is also impressive, with a height of around 40 meters. These monumental structures are aligned along the Avenue of the Dead, the city's main axis, which is about 2 kilometers long and connects key elements of the urban space. Walking along this avenue, one can feel the echo of footsteps from ancient walls, creating an atmosphere of mystery and grandeur. The wind that blows between the pyramids whispers stories hidden in the stones and plays with the shadows cast on the steps. The geometric layout of the city is remarkable for its precision. Streets intersect at right angles, and buildings are oriented according to astronomical phenomena. Researchers note that Teotihuacan was not founded by the Aztecs, as many believe. Its creators remain unknown, adding to the city's aura of mystery. The reasons for its abandonment, which likely occurred in the 7th century of our era, remain unclear. Some scholars suggest that this could have been due to environmental factors such as resource depletion or climate change, but there is no definitive evidence. In its heyday, the city was a cultural and economic center where craftsmen, traders, and priests produced unique artifacts such as ceramics and textiles. Artifacts found on the territory of Teotihuacan testify to a high level of craftsmanship and a well-developed trade system that extended far beyond the city. For example, obsidian and gold jewelry found in the city indicate complex commercial ties with other regions of Mesoamerica. The sophisticated water supply system with underground canals and aqueducts also demonstrates the advanced technologies of the time. This system, which drew water from nearby mountains, provided the city with essential resources and supported its population, estimated to have been over 100,000 people at the height of Teotihuacan. Every element of the city, from the pyramids to the residential quarters, was part of a unified whole and continues to be a subject of study for archaeologists from around the world. Current research continues, and scientists hope that further excavations will shed light on the life and culture of the inhabitants of Teotihuacan. It is remarkable that the Aztecs developed a complex system of calendars that surpassed many forms of chronology of their time. The main components of this system were 2 primary calendars: the ritual Tonalpohualli, consisting of 260 days, and the solar Xiuhpohualli, covering 365 days. The Tonalpohualli, made up of 20 periods of 13 days each, was used to determine rituals and ceremonies related to gods and agriculture. Each day had its own name and symbol, making it unique and significant for Aztec priests. The Xiuhpohualli, on the other hand, was more closely aligned with the solar cycle and determined major solar phenomena such as equinoxes and solstices. These 2 calendars were integrated within a 52-year cycle known as the Tonalpohualli, creating harmony between ritual and astronomical time. The Aztecs were skilled in observing the stars and using precise calculations to predict astronomical events such as eclipses, allowing them to plan their ceremonies with a high degree of accuracy. At the end of each 52-year cycle, a ceremony of fire renewal was held, during which the Aztecs feared the end of the world and sought signs that could predict their fate. The fires of the sacrificial pyres illuminated the night sky, creating an atmosphere of sacred awe. During this time, priests closely monitored the movement of celestial bodies, noting each change and correlating it with the rituals performed on Earth. This rhythmic flow of time, accompanied by complex ceremonies, reflected not only their religious beliefs, but also the deep connection between humans and the cosmos. As a result, the Aztecs did not merely record time. They created a system that guided their lives, defined their culture, and reinforced their worldview. The Aztecs used their calendar system to organize all aspects of their lives, including agriculture, religious practices, and social events, thereby maintaining order and predictability in society. On the remote island of Easter, in the heart of the Pacific Ocean, stand hundreds of stone giants, silently gazing into the distance and inspiring mysteries for researchers. These moai, reaching up to 10 meters in height and weighing up to 80 tons, are among the most iconic and enigmatic monuments of human history. Crafted from volcanic tuff, the statues possess distinctive features: massive heads with prominent facial features, long ears, and typically no eyes, which lend them an air of mystery. The island is home to more than 900 moai, with the majority located on the eastern coast, in the Ahu Tongariki area, where the statues are arranged in rows, facing the ocean and recalling the ancient traditions of the Rapa Nui people. The mystery of their transportation from the quarries on the volcano Rano Raraku to the shore remains one of the most debated topics among archaeologists and historians. One theory suggests that the statues were moved using logs as rollers, allowing the giants to slide along the ground. Another, more intriguing hypothesis proposes that the statues walked with the help of swaying, as a group of people held them by special loops and rocked them back and forth. This process requires significant effort and coordination, highlighting the strength and organization of the ancient Rapa Nui people. Against the backdrop of these monuments, the roar of ocean waves crashing against the shore creates an atmosphere of eternity and isolation, while the wind carving their stern faces adds a sense of mystery and enigma that envelops the entire island. Each moai, like a silent sentinel, holds within it the history of ancestors who left an indelible mark on the culture, and continues to puzzle researchers eager to unravel its secrets. The statues were erected between the 14th and 17th centuries, and their creation is likely connected to ancestor worship, as evidenced by archaeological finds such as tools and remnants of ancient settlements. The island of Easter covers an area of only 161 square kilometers, making it one of the most remote inhabited territories on the planet. Imagine a world where on the marshy banks of two rivers, the Tigris and Euphrates, a developed civilization with a unique culture suddenly emerges, seemingly without any visible predecessors. Around 4,000 years before our era, the Sumerians, as they called themselves, began to build city-states such as Ur, Uruk, and Lagash. These cities were not just centers of trade, but also places where complex irrigation systems were developed, ensuring agriculture in this arid region. The Sumerians, known as black-headed for their distinctive features, believed that their knowledge and achievements were given to them by mythical beings called Anuna, who, in their belief, descended from the heavens and brought civilization. In their culture, cuneiform, one of the earliest known writing systems, was used to record economic transactions, religious texts, and even literary works such as the Epic of Gilgamesh. The Sumerians' astronomical observations were so precise that they documented the movements of planets, including those that could not be seen with the naked eye, such as Neptune and Uranus, long before their discovery in modern times. The sound of a stylus scratching on clay tablets echoed like the rustling of reeds swaying in the wind in those ancient marshes, as if the gods themselves were whispering their secrets. The Sumerians developed a calendar based on lunar cycles, allowing them to more accurately plan agricultural work and religious festivals. They were aware of the zodiac and recorded the movements of stars, creating a unique system of astrology that influenced other cultures for centuries. In their temples, such as the ziggurat in Ur, the Sumerians worshipped their gods, offering prayers and sacrifices, believing in their protection and blessings. These achievements formed the basis for subsequent civilizations, such as the Akkadians and Babylonians, who adopted and developed Sumerian traditions. But the Sumerians themselves remain a mystery. The question of where they came from and how they achieved such success in such a short period continues to be debated among historians and archaeologists. There are theories about the migration of peoples, but concrete evidence remains scattered. The Sumerian civilization left behind not only material artifacts, but also a legacy that continues to influence the modern world, from writing to religious beliefs. Remarkably, on a map drawn by the Ottoman admiral Piri Reis in 1513, coastlines are depicted that were unknown to Europeans at the time. This map, created based on ancient sources, includes detailed images of the coasts of South America and, intriguingly, part of the Antarctic coast, which was entirely covered in ice at that time. Piri Reis claimed to have used ancient maps and marine records, including works by the ancient Greek geographer Claudius Ptolemy, who lived in the 1st century AD, and even earlier records. It is known that Piri Reis borrowed information from numerous sources, including Arabic and Indian maps, raising an interesting question. Where did he get information about such distant and unexplored territories? Modern scientists have conducted numerous studies to determine the accuracy of the maps created at that time. For example, in 1989, a group of geographers from the University of Florida analyzed Piri Reis's map using modern technologies such as Geographic Information Systems, GIS, and concluded that the outlines of the coastlines indeed correspond to what we see today, despite being under ice at the time. This discovery has led to numerous theories about the existence of earlier, unknown civilizations that possess knowledge of geography far surpassing that known during the Renaissance. Other researchers, such as geologist Dr. Charles Hapgood, in his book The Mysteries of the Ancient Maps, propose that the maps could be based on oral tradition passed down from one civilization to another. The conclusion that these ancient maps could have been created based on much earlier knowledge of the Earth raises many questions about our understanding of history and geographical research. 80% of the Antarctic coastline remained unexplored until the beginning of the 20th century, and maps like Piri Reis's shed light on how little we know about our planet and the civilizations that may have existed long before us. Once in the harbor of Rhodes, there stood a statue known as the Colossus of Rhodes, which was considered one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. This colossal bronze figure, approximately 33 meters tall, depicted the sun god Helios and stood on a stone base that was itself a significant structure. The Colossus was built in 280 BC to celebrate the victory of the Rhodians over the Macedonian general Demetrius Poliorcetes. The statue was created by the renowned sculptor Heres of Lindos, who combined artistic and engineering elements in his work. The bronze plates covering the figure reflected sunlight, creating a dazzling spectacle for sailors approaching the harbor. According to one theory, the Colossus served as a lighthouse, guiding ships to a safe entrance, although this remains a subject of debate. It is also believed that the statue symbolized the freedom and independence of the island. At its height, the Colossus made an impression comparable to how a modern person might feel when looking at the skyscrapers of a large city. The sound of waves crashing against the base of the giant figure created an atmosphere of grandeur and power. The Colossus stood for only a few decades, as it was destroyed by a powerful earthquake in 226 or 227 BC. Although the monument did not survive to our time, its image remains in the historical memory of humanity, inspiring artists and architects for centuries. The statue was never restored, and its power can only be judged by the descriptions of ancient authors such as Pliny the Elder, who claimed that the Colossus was so large that ships could pass between its legs. It's hard to imagine, but the construction of the Egyptian pyramids remains one of the greatest mysteries in the history of architecture. The pyramids of Cheops, Chephren, and Mykerinos are not just colossal structures, but also a testament to engineering skill that even the most experienced modern specialists find baffling. Each of the stone blocks, weighing up to 80 tons, was given an extraordinary degree of precision. The gaps between them are less than 1 millimeter. This means that, despite primitive tools, the ancient Egyptians were able to work stone with such meticulousness that the joints remained almost invisible. The pyramids are perfectly oriented to the cardinal directions, indicating deep knowledge of astronomy and geometry possessed by the ancient builders. There are numerous theories about how they moved these giant blocks. One of the most well-known suggests the use of ramps, along which the blocks were raised to the required height. Other researchers believe that systems of levers were used, allowing heavy stones to be easily lifted. Some even propose that the blocks were moved along waterways, using channels filled with water to reduce friction. The work on the pyramids went on under the scorching sun of the desert, where the sounds of grinding stones and the cries of thousands of workers merged into a single, unique noise, creating an unforgettable atmosphere. The scent of fresh limestone mixed with the sweat of the workers and the shadows cast by the pyramid at sunset seemed to remind of the greatness and power of the pharaohs. A tense but determined atmosphere reigned, where each worker understood that their efforts were contributing to the eternal memory of Egypt's greatness. Each pyramid required decades of labor, and their construction was a true test of human strength and willpower. According to historians, the construction of the Pyramid of Cheops alone required approximately 2 million stone blocks. Few people know that the ancient Romans developed concrete, which became the foundation of their magnificent architecture and continues to amaze with its strength and durability to this day. This concrete, known as opus cementitium, included volcanic ash, which gave it unique properties. Volcanic ash, mined in the vicinity of Pompeii, not only strengthened the mixture, but also allowed it to harden underwater, which was critically important for the construction of ports and aqueducts. Roman aqueducts, such as the Aqueduct of Appius, stretched for hundreds of kilometers and supplied cities with fresh drinking water. The construction of such structures required outstanding engineering thought. The incline of the aqueducts was carefully calculated so that water could flow without pumps, relying solely on the force of gravity. The sound of water flowing through the vaults of these ancient structures, like an echo of past epochs, filled Roman cities with life and freshness. Baths like the Baths of Caracalla amazed contemporaries not only with their size, but also with their engineering solutions. Thermal complexes included heating systems where hot air passed under the floors, creating a comfortable coolness even on hot summer days. When entering, one immediately felt a sharp change in temperature. The coolness of marble walls and floors, polished over centuries, was so pleasant against the backdrop of the hot Roman sun. The floors of the baths were laid with mosaics, and the walls were adorned with exquisite frescoes, which continue to attract the attention of researchers and tourists. Roman roads, such as the Via Appia, were built using a multi-layered technology, including large stones based on concrete, which allowed them to withstand the weight of heavy wagons and armies for centuries. These roads connected different corners of the empire and served as important arteries for trade and movement. Legions and merchants passed along them, bringing goods from distant lands. Each road was meticulously planned. Width, incline, and even drainage systems were calculated with mathematical precision. The use of various construction technologies by the Romans, such as arches and vaults, allowed them to create vast spaces used for public events and religious ceremonies. For example, the Colosseum, built in the 1st century AD, could accommodate up to 50,000 spectators and was a true marvel of engineering thought of its time. Its arches and vaults not only ensured the stability of the structure, but also created unique acoustics, allowing even quiet sounds to be heard from afar. Roman builders used methods that were ahead of their time. They combined concrete with brick and stone, creating strong structures that have endured for centuries. The use of fired brick, baked in special kilns, allowed them to create walls that were not only strong, but also beautiful. These construction technologies were passed down from generation to generation, and each new building became more grandiose and complex. All these achievements were not accidental. They emerged against the backdrop of a stable political system that supported the development of science and technology. Roman engineers and architects, such as Vitruvius, documented their knowledge in works that are still studied today. Vitruvius, who lived in the 1st century BC, in his book De Architectura, described principles that architects should follow, including the idea of proportions and symmetry based on nature. The innovations of the Romans in the field of concrete and architecture became the basis for future construction practices and continue to challenge modern technologies. According to estimates, about 80% of Roman buildings constructed from this unique concrete still stand, confirming the mastery of the ancient builders. The number of surviving Roman structures, such as the Pantheon, built at the beginning of the 2nd century, continues to inspire architects around the world. The height of its dome reaches 40 meters, and it remains the largest concrete dome in the world. In the Temple of Hathor in Dendera, there are mysterious bas-reliefs that attract attention with their unusual content. On these images, one can see elongated objects that strongly resemble modern electric lamps. Inside these lamps is something that can be interpreted as a thread, as well as something that looks like a power source. These details spark heated debates among researchers. Some are convinced that this is evidence of the existence of electricity in ancient Egypt, while others believe that the images symbolize the lotus and the rising sun, important elements of Egyptian mythology. It is worth noting that such contradictory interpretations are not limited to the bas-reliefs in Dendera. In other parts of Egypt, artifacts have been found that suggest possible knowledge of ancient chemistry and electricity. For example, gilded artifacts found in pharaohs' tombs testify to advanced metalworking technologies. The preserved colors on the walls of ancient temples also puzzle scholars. They are remarkably vibrant, even after thousands of years, hinting at possible secrets of ancient dyes. Inside the Temple of Hathor, an atmosphere of mystery prevails. Soft light filters through small windows, falling on the bas-reliefs and highlighting their details. The walls of the temple seem to whisper about ancient secrets that were once known only to priests. The feeling of touching these ancient knowledge is indescribable. It seems as if you are standing at the threshold of a discovery that could revolutionize our understanding of a civilization that existed more than 3,000 years ago. It is important to remember that such discoveries can change not only our understanding of history, but also the very essence of human civilization. In Dendera, in the shadow of ancient walls, such reflections become particularly acute and relevant. For centuries, secret societies have existed on Earth, safeguarding knowledge and skills that were inaccessible to the general public. One of the most renowned is the cult of Mithras, which emerged in the 3rd century BCE in Persian culture and spread throughout the Roman Empire. Mithraism involved complex initiation rituals, consisting of various stages. Initiation into the cult included a rite where followers had to pass through a cave, a symbol of the underworld, where they faced trials. These rituals often took place in mysterious subterranean temples lit by torches, creating an atmosphere of sacrality and mystery. Cult members took oaths of silence, committing to keep the secrets of the teachings, which heightened their sense of belonging to something great and inaccessible to the majority. Additionally, there was the Pythagorean Union, founded by Pythagoras in the 6th century BCE. Pythagoreans studied not only mathematics, but also philosophy, music, and astronomy, believing that the world could be understood through numbers and harmony. Their teachings included a multi-level system of initiation, where each new level opened access to deeper knowledge. A key element of their practice were secret gatherings, where philosophical ideas were discussed and rituals related to the purification of the soul were conducted. The Eleusinian Mysteries, held in Eleusis, were dedicated to the goddess Demeter and her daughter Persephone. These rituals occurred once a year and included processions and complex ceremonies symbolizing the cycle of life and death, as well as rebirth. Initiates who had undergone the rituals gained access to esoteric knowledge about life after death and the mysteries of the universe. In ancient societies, symbolic gestures and passwords were passed down through generations, creating a strong bond between the knowledge of ancestors and the present. This thread of tradition has spanned centuries, linking ancient civilizations with contemporary quests, constantly reminding us that knowledge is power, and only the worthy can grasp it. These secret societies not only preserved knowledge, but also shaped the culture, philosophy, and science of their times, leaving a profound mark on human history. The Eleusinian Mysteries, for instance, attracted thousands of participants, including philosophers like Plato, who believed that true knowledge lies beyond ordinary perception. As a result, many of these teachings became the foundation for subsequent religious and philosophical systems, such as Neoplatonism and Christianity. Remarkably, ancient physicians possessed knowledge and skills that are hard for modern people to even imagine. Craniotomy, performed as early as the Neolithic period, was one of the most daring and complex medical practices. Research shows that people at that time used simple tools such as sharp stones or bronze chisels to drill holes in the skull. This procedure was often used to treat various ailments, including headaches, epilepsy, and even to exorcise evil spirits. Remarkably, archaeologists have found skulls with clear signs of healing, indicating a high survival rate among patients. For example, in the 5th century BC in Latin America, archaeologists discovered skulls with visible signs of trepanation and evidence of healing, suggesting that ancient surgeons could indeed perform such operations successfully. Additionally, in Pompeii, surgical instruments were found, demonstrating a high level of skill. Knives, clamps, and even tweezers made of bronze allowed doctors to perform operations with remarkable precision. Egyptian medical papyri, such as the Ebers Papyrus, dating back to around 1500 BC, contain numerous recipes and treatment methods, including the use of herbs for anesthesia. The scents emanating from these herbs were not only soothing, but also sometimes exotic, creating an atmosphere of hope for patients on the operating table. Ayurvedic practices in India, which have existed for over 3,000 years, also offer numerous treatment methods, including surgical procedures, and emphasize the importance of balance between body and spirit. Unique sounds produced by primitive tools working on bone created an atmosphere filled with fear and hope. Patients undergoing such operations experienced severe pain, but their faith in healing and the experience of the surgeons often brought the desired results. One fact stands out. In the 30th century BC, Egyptian surgeons used methods that included both physical intervention and healing rituals, underscoring their understanding of human nature and the desire for healing. The Knossos Palace on Crete is an architectural marvel that captivates the imagination with its multi-level structure, featuring over 1,000 rooms connected by intricate corridors. Built around 2,000 years before our era, the palace showcases advanced engineering solutions, such as a sophisticated water supply system utilizing complex aqueducts and drainage channels. Its vibrant frescoes, depicting scenes from the daily life of the Minoans and their religious rituals, continue to awe researchers and tourists alike. For instance, the famous fresco Dancing Girls not only illustrates the art of the time, but also highlights the importance of rituals associated with the bull cult, which was a central element of Minoan culture. The legend of the Minotaur, originating from this place, links the myth with the real architectural features. The labyrinthine corridors of the palace could indeed have served as a prototype for the labyrinth, where, according to the myth, the Minotaur was hidden. The interior rooms of the palace, such as the throne room, impress with their grandeur. The throne, carved from stone, and the walls adorned with frescoes, create an atmosphere of power and sanctity. Meanwhile, storage rooms held supplies of grain and other goods, and the use of linear A script for record keeping indicates a high level of economic and organizational sophistication among the Minoans. Light wells penetrating deep into the rooms create a play of light and shadow, adding mystery and beauty. The scent of the sea wafting through the open courtyards, combined with the echoes of the palace's daily life reverberating through the corridors, creates a unique atmosphere that transports us to a distant past, when this place was the center of political and cultural life. The Knossos Palace is not only an architectural achievement, but also a symbol of the wealth and complexity of the Minoan civilization, which left its mark on history despite its enigmatic nature. Large stores of foodstuffs, such as grain and olive oil, found in Knossos point to a well-developed agricultural system. It's hard to imagine, But the stoneworking technologies of ancient Egypt continue to amaze even today. The Egyptians were masterful in working with granite, which has a hardness of 7 on the Mohs scale, as well as with diorite, which reaches a hardness of 8, and basalt, which has a hardness of 6. These stones, with their exceptional strength, allowed for the creation of monumental structures that have stood on the earth for more than 5,000 years and continue to amaze with their precision. For instance, the perfectly smooth surfaces of the granite blocks used in the construction of the pyramids at Giza are so polished that they reflect like a mirror. The angles and joints between the stones are executed with minimal deviation, indicating a high level of skill among the ancient stonecutters. One of the most astonishing aspects of stoneworking is the cylindrical drilling, which left holes with minimal deviations in diameter. Research shows that some of these holes were only a few centimeters in diameter, indicating a high level of technology. There are many theories about how the Egyptians achieved such results. One hypothesis suggests the use of abrasive sand in combination with a copper saw for stoneworking. This is quite plausible, as copper was known at the time. But some researchers propose more exotic theories, such as the use of sound technologies that could resonate with the stone and facilitate cutting. Scientific experiments conducted in the 21st century have shown that sound of a certain frequency can affect the strength of materials, which has sparked interest in this theory. When tapping on polished stone surfaces, a characteristic deep sound is heard, reminiscent of a musical instrument. This sound indicates the high quality of the stonework and the strength of the stone. The granite artifacts that have survived to this day exhibit a shine that has been polished to a mirror-like state and smoothness that has not lost its perfection over thousands of years. Scientists still cannot definitively explain how the ancient Egyptians achieved such results, adding more mysteries to the history of this great civilization. For example, some stone blocks used in the construction of temples at Karnak weigh up to 60 tons, and the question of how they were moved remains open. In Mesopotamia, ziggurats towered like colossal steps leading to the heavens. These monumental structures reached heights of up to 90 meters and were built from fired clay bricks, faced with glazed tiles, giving them an elegant appearance and allowing them to endure for millennia. Ziggurats typically had a characteristic stepped form, with each platform slightly smaller than the one below, creating an effect of ascending towards the divine. Archaeologists believe these structures served multiple functions, as temples dedicated to gods, as astronomical observatories where priests could observe stars and predict seasons, and as shelters during floods, providing a safe haven for local residents. Additionally, they symbolized the cosmic mountain, the center of the universe where earth and sky met. Imagine standing on the top platform of a ziggurat, gazing at the cityscape, with long shadows cast by the setting sun filling the streets with golden light. Ascending the monumental staircases, one feels drawn closer to the heavens, each step bringing one closer to the divine. Famous ziggurats like the Ziggurat of Ur, built around 2,500 years before our era, were centers of religious life. Their walls were adorned with vibrant murals and reliefs depicting scenes from mythology and daily life. Infused with spirituality, these structures were not only architectural marvels, but also symbols of faith and hope for the ancient Mesopotamians. Each year, archaeological excavations uncover new details, confirming that ziggurats played a pivotal role in the social and cultural life of their peoples. For instance, in 2399 BCE, a ziggurat was discovered in Nineveh, which was likely used for astronomical observations, as evidenced by astronomical tablets found nearby. Legends about the lost Atlantis, an island state described by Plato in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, continue to stir the minds of historians and archaeologists. Plato, who lived in the 4th century BCE, described Atlantis as a powerful civilization located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, in the ocean that later became known as the Atlantic. He claimed that this land was more powerful than any known country, and that it was ultimately swallowed by the sea in a catastrophic event. Over the centuries, numerous theories have emerged about the location of Atlantis. Some researchers point to the Mediterranean Sea, suggesting that Atlantis could have been near Crete or Santorini, where a volcanic eruption caused significant destruction. Others believe that Atlantis could have been located in the Atlantic Ocean, near the Azores, or even in the North Sea. In the Caribbean basin, there are also speculations about possible traces of this mythical land, such as underwater structures found off the coast of Cuba, which have sparked interest among researchers. More radical hypotheses place Atlantis in Antarctica, asserting that remnants of an ancient civilization once flourishing on that continent are hidden beneath the ice. Each theory fuels debates and discussions, while the sound of the sea waves continues to conceal secrets, and the salty smell of the sea fills the air as if reminding us of the grandeur of the lost world. In this context, it is worth noting that archaeologists annually conduct research, including underwater expeditions, to search for evidence of Atlantis' existence. For example, in 2012, a team of researchers led by Dr. Ben Hedges discovered underwater structures off the coast of the Azores, which they believe could be part of a sunken continent. These findings inspire scientists to develop new theories and embark on adventures in the quest for the truth about the mysterious island. Meanwhile, modern technologies such as underwater drones and georadar research open new possibilities for studying the depths of the sea in search of traces of this lost civilization. The scientific community continues to share its opinions on the reality of Atlantis, while the myth continues to inspire not only scientists, but also writers, artists, and filmmakers. At the same time, the search for Atlantis has become a symbol of humanity's quest for knowledge and the unraveling of the mysteries of the past, highlighting how much we still do not know about our history. There is a belief that the discovery of Atlantis could change our understanding of the development of civilizations, and therefore, researchers continue to seek clues that could confirm or refute the myth of the sunken continent. As of now, none of the hypotheses have been definitively proven, and the enigma of Atlantis remains relevant. Across the expansive desert of Nazca in Peru, mysterious geoglyphs lie hidden, captivating the imagination with their scale and precision. Images of animals, plants, and geometric shapes, some measuring up to 370 meters in length, create a unique contrast with the lifeless landscape. These lines, carved into the earth around 2,000 years ago, have been preserved thanks to the region's dry climate, making them some of the oldest surviving artifacts on the planet. Researchers like Peruvian archaeologist Maria Reyes have noted the remarkable accuracy of the geoglyphs. Their outlines are sharp and precise, indicating a high level of knowledge among ancient peoples. The purpose of these massive drawings remains a mystery. Some theories suggest they served as a calendar, helping local residents navigate seasons and weather conditions. Other scientists propose that the geoglyphs indicated water sources in this arid region, vital for survival. There are also those who believe these lines were ritual paths leading to sanctuaries where locals prayed to their gods. Each of these hypotheses opens new horizons for understanding the culture of the Nazca people. Walking through the desert, one feels the heat of the sun and hears the soft rustle of sand beneath one's feet, creating a sense of being in a place where time has stopped. Against this desolate backdrop, the geoglyphs stand out with their refined beauty, prompting reflection on how ancient cultures could create such complex and precise forms with only primitive tools. The International Association for the Study of Nazca continues to conduct research, actively engaging volunteers and students to study these enigmatic figures, which still hold many secrets. The geoglyphs of Nazca remain not only an object of scientific interest, but also a symbol of human ability to create art in the most unexpected conditions. Imagine for a moment the crystal skulls discovered in the depths of Central America, possessing flawless polishing and anatomical precision. These artifacts, which often raise more questions than answers, can refract light in such a way that it seems as if there is a source of light within them. First mentioned in the 19th century, when collectors began exhibiting them at exhibitions, presenting them as ancient relics. Experts claim that their glass surface is cold to the touch, evoking an indescribable sensation. as if one is holding something from another world. The deep, empty eye sockets of these skulls seem to gaze directly at you, invoking a sense of unease and mystery. The question of their origin remains open. There are two main theories. The first suggests that the skulls were created by ancient civilizations such as the Maya or Aztecs, possessing mystical properties and serving as ritual objects. The second, more skeptical theory, points out that most of these artifacts are skillful forgeries created in the 19th century, when the fashion for exotic items reached its peak. For example, in 1892, a skull from the Mitchell collection was exhibited at a public display and caused great interest. However, it was later found to have been made in Europe. Research conducted in 2012 by a group of scientists showed that the chemical composition of the skulls does not match known materials used in ancient times, casting doubt on their true origin. Scientific analyses revealed that some skulls contain traces of tools that could not have existed in those epochs. These findings underscore the ongoing debates among archaeologists and collectors about what these enigmatic objects actually are. Crystal skulls continue to captivate attention and stir the imagination, raising questions about what we really know about the ancient cultures of Central America. Their enduring appeal lies not only in their appearance, but also in the mysteries they hold. There are skulls, according to rumors, that possess healing properties, and people continue to try to understand how and why they were created. They can indeed be considered a cultural phenomenon, touching not only archaeology, but also mythology, philosophy, and even psychology. Many researchers note how such artifacts have become symbols of the search for truth and understanding, making them even more intriguing for study. In their quest to understand what these skulls really are, scientists continue to delve into their history to determine how they are connected to the culture and beliefs of ancient peoples. These studies open new horizons and sometimes lead to unexpected discoveries that challenge many established notions about ancient civilizations. After all, crystal skulls are not just works of art, but also a symbol of humanity's insatiable thirst for knowledge and discovery of the unknown. In the jungles of Central America, secrets are hidden, shrouded in leaves, where once the voices of the Maya echoed, now lost in silence. From the 8th to the 9th century of our era, the Maya civilization, known for its magnificent cities, mysteriously abandoned its vast settlements. During this time, hundreds of thousands of people left their homes, leaving behind only crumbling temples and abandoned plazas, where now only the rustling of leaves breaks the silence. The most common theories about the causes of this disappearance include a combination of factors: prolonged droughts, depletion of natural resources, epidemics, internal conflicts, and wars with neighboring tribes. Paleoclimatologists studying sedimentary rocks assert that during this time, climate changes led to a sharp decrease in rainfall, resulting in the collapse of agriculture. Studies show that in some regions, rainfall levels dropped by more than 30%, making it impossible for such agrarian societies to continue. This also coincided with a population growth, estimated to reach up to 7 million people, which placed an immense strain on natural resources. In response to the worsening living conditions, social unrest began within societies, escalating to open conflicts where the elite lost power, and ordinary people, weary of war and hunger, rose up against their rulers. As a result, powerful cities such as Tikal and Calakmul were abandoned, and nature quickly reclaimed them. Ancient palaces, once filled with life, now became homes for wild animals, whose sounds echoed the former glory. Lions and jaguars, prowling through tree roots, occasionally interrupted the silence, as if reminding of the once mighty civilization. As a result, several centuries after its peak, the Maya cities were left in ruins, shrouded in mystery that continues to attract the attention of archaeologists and historians. Scholars like David Stewart continue to investigate these enigmatic phenomena, trying to understand how such a powerful culture could disappear so suddenly. As of 2023, research continues, and over 600 abandoned cities have been discovered, which may still hold the keys to unraveling this ancient mystery. The Curse of the Pharaohs is not just a myth, but a phenomenon often discussed in the context of archaeological discoveries. One of the most famous cases occurred in 1922, when Lord Carnarvon, who funded the excavation of Tutankhamun's tomb, died just 5 months after its opening. His death was shrouded in mystery. He died from a mosquito bite that led to blood poisoning, but many attribute this tragedy to the infamous curse supposedly placed on those who disturbed the rest of the ancient dead. Soon after Carnarvon, several people involved in the excavations also died under strange circumstances. For example, archaeologist Arthur Mace, who studied the tomb, died of pneumonia, while another expedition member, Lord Foster, died in a car accident. Rumors of the curse spread worldwide, sparking fear and interest in ancient Egyptian tombs. Scientific explanations for this phenomenon were not long in coming. Some researchers point to toxic mold fungi that could have inhabited the musty air of the tombs, causing serious illnesses. Additionally, there is the psychological effect. Being in tombs filled with ancient hieroglyphs and warning inscriptions could cause researchers to experience severe stress, which in turn could lead to health deterioration. Recall the atmosphere of these ancient burial chambers, with dim torchlight barely illuminating the walls covered in hieroglyphs and the damp, musty air filling the space, inducing a sense of dread and impending danger. Every crack in the stone, every sound echoing off the walls, evokes the feeling that ancient spirits are indeed watching those who dare to disturb their peace. The Curse of the Pharaohs continues to spark debate and discussion among scientists, as it reflects not only the fear of the unknown, but also the deep human need to understand how the past can influence the present. It is interesting that in the 20th century alone, more than 30 cases of unexplained deaths or misfortunes were recorded following the opening of tombs. In the highlands of Bolivia lies an ancient site known as Puma Punku, where stone blocks are so precisely cut that even a knife blade cannot fit between them. These blocks, some weighing up to 800 tons, are made of andesite and granite, materials that are difficult even for modern tools to work with. Remarkably, the surfaces of these stones are perfectly smooth, and the angles are so meticulously cut that they seem to have been manufactured in a factory. Researchers like archaeologist David Brown note a paradox. Despite the grandeur and precision of the construction, there are no written records of its creation. Moreover, many blocks are connected by metal clamps, raising numerous questions about the technologies used in ancient times. To put it plainly, how could ancient civilizations work with such hard materials? The atmosphere of Puma Punku is captivating. The thin mountain air and silence among the ancient ruins create unique conditions for contemplation. The rough surrounding landscape contrasts sharply with the incredible precision of the stonework, inspiring awe and wonder. Puma Punku rightfully deserves to be considered one of the most mysterious places on the planet, where ancient architecture continues to challenge modern notions of construction technologies. Its location at an altitude of more than 3,800 meters above sea level adds to its mystery. How did ancient builders organize such large-scale works in such challenging conditions? Each block here is not just a stone, but a testament to a high level of engineering thought that remains an unsolved mystery. In the highlands of Bolivia, in the ancient city of Tiwanaku, stand the Sun Gate, a monumental portal that captivates researchers and enthusiasts of ancient history. This architectural masterpiece reaches 3 meters in height and 4 meters in width, constructed from andesite weighing around 10 tons. The central bas-relief depicts a mysterious deity with rays, which, according to scholars, could symbolize a solar deity. The Sun Gate served not only as an architectural landmark, but also as an astronomical marker, linking the ancient culture with the solar calendar. Research shows that its precise orientation points to the sunrise on the days of the equinoxes and solstices, underscoring the importance of astronomy for the Inca civilization. The complex symbols surrounding the central figure remain unexplained, each containing secrets that continue to intrigue historians. The atmosphere of this place is particularly intense. The thin air of the highlands fills the space, and the play of light and shadow on the ancient carved surfaces creates a sense of sacred space. In this sanctuary, ancient priests could conduct rituals related to solar cycles, as evidenced by finds in the vicinity, including pottery shards and tools for sacrifices. The Sun Gate was not just a passage, but a place where earth and heaven, life and death, humanity and divinity converged. These gates, shrouded in myths, continue to attract the attention of scholars and tourists, serving as a key to understanding the ancient cosmology of this enigmatic culture. Each year, thousands of people visit to see these impressive structures and feel the unique energy encapsulated in the stone. The Sun Gate is not just a monument of architecture, but a living testament to the spirituality and knowledge of the people who once inhabited these lands. Knowledge of the sphericity of the Earth dates back to ancient times, and surprisingly, it was widely accepted among educated people in antiquity. As early as the 6th century BC, the Pythagorean philosophers, such as Pythagoras, proposed the idea that the Earth is spherical, basing their conclusions on observations of stars and the movements of celestial bodies. This concept of a round world was adopted by Aristotle in the 4th century BC, who provided several proofs in support of his theory. He noted that the shadow of the Earth on the Moon during lunar eclipses always has a circular shape, which is impossible if the Earth were flat. Aristotle also pointed out that when traveling south, new stars become visible, indicating that the observer is moving across the surface of a sphere. The 2nd century BC marked a significant milestone in the history of geography with Eratosthenes, who, as the head of the library in Alexandria, was the first to accurately measure the circumference of the Earth. He used the differences in the angles of solar rays in two cities, Syene and Alexandria, to calculate the distance between them, and, using these data, estimated the circumference of the planet at 26,200 kilometers, which is almost identical to modern measurements. In most ancient civilizations, such as ancient Rome and Greece, educated people were aware of the Earth's sphericity. They observed ships gradually disappearing over the horizon and understood that this was due to the curvature of the planet. Ancient navigators used stars for orientation, and their knowledge of the starry sky was quite advanced. For example, the North Star always remained in the same place, while the stars around it rotated, also confirming the idea of a spherical Earth. These observations and calculations were so precise that they allowed ancient sailors to safely cross oceans, relying on the knowledge that the Earth is not flat, but spherical. Queen Nefertiti, one of the most enigmatic figures in ancient Egyptian history, left behind a plethora of questions, but no clear answers. Her beauty and influence on the religious life of Egypt were undeniable. Nefertiti, wife of Pharaoh Akhenaten, actively participated in his religious reform, which was focused on the worship of the sun in the form of the god Aten, becoming a symbol of a new era. Images of Nefertiti, depicted in the famous bust found in Amarna, testify to her extraordinary beauty and majesty. This bust, created by sculptor Thutmose, became one of the most famous artifacts of antiquity, embodying not only her physical beauty, but also the power of the queen, who alongside Akhenaten seemed to rule not only the household, but the state. However, after the 12th year of Akhenaten's reign, mentions of Nefertiti suddenly disappear. This sudden disappearance has become the subject of numerous speculations and theories. Some historians suggest that she might have died from an epidemic that ravaged Egypt at the time. Others propose the hypothesis of her exile, possibly due to a conflict with other members of the royal family or priests who were against the changes introduced by Akhenaten. There is also a theory that Nefertiti might have changed her name and ruled as a co-regent or even as a sole ruler under the name Smenkhara. This theory is supported by the fact that Smenkhara, who ruled after Akhenaten, could have been Nefertiti, who took on a male name to assert her power in a patriarchal society. The search for her tomb has become a real treasure hunt, and in the 20th century, archaeologists discovered a mysterious mummy known as the Younger Lady, which is believed to be possible Nefertiti. However, despite numerous studies and analyses, her true identity remains unclear. Research conducted using computer tomography shows that the mummy has features consistent with a woman who could have given birth to several children, indicating her high social status. The question of where this remarkable woman disappeared continues to captivate scholars and history enthusiasts, filling books and documentary screens with new hypotheses and speculations. Nefertiti remains a symbol of mystery and power, reminding us that even the brightest stars can disappear from the historical firmament. Under the water off the eastern coast of the Bahamas lies a mysterious structure known as the Bimini Road. This underwater formation consists of correctly placed rectangular blocks that form something resembling a paved road or wall extending into the depths of the ocean. The height of individual blocks reaches 1 meter, while their length varies from several dozen centimeters to several meters. The first mentions of this mysterious object date back to 1955, when a team of underwater researchers noticed strange stone structures on the ocean floor. Soon after, debates about the origin of these blocks began. Some scientists claim they are remnants of an ancient civilization, possibly Atlantis, about which many legends speak. Others, on the contrary, insist that they are a natural geological formation resulting from erosion and movements of the Earth's crust. Notably, in 1930, American mystic Edgar Cayce predicted that the remains of Atlantis would be found in this area, adding another layer of intrigue to this place. Research conducted in 2001 showed that the structure could indeed be artificial, but definitive evidence of this is still lacking. Underwater archaeologists diving into the clear waters of the Bahamas describe how sunlight penetrates the water and plays on the surface of the blocks, creating mesmerizing light effects. Waving seaweed wrapped around the stone structures adds a sense of mystery hidden beneath the water's surface. These underwater investigations attract the attention of both scientists and tourists who wish to see this place with their own eyes. The water here is crystal clear, and visibility underwater reaches 30 meters, making the dive particularly exciting. The Bimini Road remains an object of active debate and research, as many researchers continue to seek answers to questions about its origin and significance. In 2003, a research team led by Dr. John Smith from the University of Auckland conducted detailed studies of the structure using modern technologies such as underwater robotic devices. They found that the blocks are made of limestone, which was likely quarried nearby. This information raises new questions. If the blocks were indeed created by human hands, who and when built them? Perhaps we will never know the truth, but the mystery of the Bimini Road continues to live its own life, drawing attention to the secrets of ancient civilizations. Remarkable parallels observed between distant ancient civilizations raise numerous questions about how they could exchange ideas and technologies over such great distances. For instance, pyramids were built in Egypt, Mesoamerica, and China, despite differences in architectural details, demonstrating striking similarities in form and function. Egyptian pyramids in Giza, dating back to the 3rd millennium BCE, served as tombs for pharaohs and symbolized the connection between the earthly and divine realms. Meanwhile, Mayan pyramids like the Pyramid of Kukulkan in Chichen Itza were used for religious rituals and also had astronomical significance, highlighting the importance of the solar cycle in their culture. Chinese pyramids, such as those of the Song dynasty, also served as burial structures, emphasizing the importance of ancestors and rituals related to the afterlife. The similarity in these structures may be linked to common human aspirations for eternal life and understanding of the cosmos. The use of solar symbols across various cultures is also intriguing. For example, the sun as a central symbol of life and power can be seen in the cultures of the Incas, Egyptians, and even in the myths of ancient Greeks. These symbols did not merely adorn temples, but also served as important elements for understanding time and seasons. In Mesoamerica, solar calendar systems like the Aztec calendar were based on observations of solar cycles, which also have parallels with Egyptian solar cults that revered Ra as the supreme deity. Similarities in flood myths also provoke interest. Legends of a global flood are found in various corners of the globe, from the Sumerian epic of Gilgamesh to the biblical story of Noah, and even in the myths of indigenous Australians. Scholars note that such narratives could have arisen independently in different cultures or been the result of the spread of ideas. Diffusionist theories suggest that ideas and technologies could have spread through contacts between peoples, which could have been achieved through trade, war, or migrations. There are also hypotheses about what is known as the Mother Civilization, from which many known cultures may have originated. This concept proposes that in ancient times there existed a highly advanced civilization, possibly in the regions of modern-day Near East or India, from which other cultures emerged. For example, some researchers point to similarities in agricultural methods and architecture in the Nile and Indus valleys, raising questions about possible contacts between these regions. Technological achievements, such as the use of astronomical observations to create calendars, also demonstrate parallels. Ancient Egyptians and Mayans used astronomical knowledge to determine planting and harvest times, creating highly accurate calendars, which were critically important for their agriculture. Remarkably, the methods of time measurement in these cultures were equally precise, despite developing independently. Parallels in architecture, symbolism, and myths of ancient civilizations raise many questions about how people in different historical periods and in various parts of the world could create similar ideas and structures. These connections remain a subject of active research and discussion in academic circles, and each new discovery in this field only adds more mysteries to the history of humanity. Ultimately, this underscores how deep and complex human cultural roots may be, possibly reaching back into the distant past. In the ancient Indian epic Mahabharata, there is mention of something that can be considered a precursor to modern technologies. In one of its fragments, a shining weapon is described, which, according to the poet, emitted light brighter than 1,000 suns. The consequences of its use were horrendous. Food became poisoned, and those who survived lost their hair and nails, as if they had been burned by an invisible flame. These lines evoke a sense of awe, making one ponder whether ancient times could have possessed knowledge and technologies beyond our comprehension. Parallels with nuclear weapons and their destructive consequences are not just abstract speculations, but concrete descriptions that stir our imagination. Vedic texts also mention vimanas, flying machines that, according to legends, could travel through the air and even into space. These machines, described as capable of incredible maneuvers, evoke associations with modern drones, but on the level of myths and legends. There is even a mention of mirrors used in ancient China for transmitting images over long distances. These texts contain an archaic language that contrasts with the descriptions of technologies that sound so modern, creating an effect of a temporal rupture. The texts are filled with details that seem to transcend human experience. Mirrors could reflect light waves, creating images visible from a great distance. Reading these passages not only arouses curiosity, but also makes one consider that ancient civilizations might have possessed knowledge that does not fit into our conventional understanding of history. Comparing these ancient texts with modern technological achievements becomes not just interesting, but sometimes even frightening, when one realizes that these ancient texts might not just be myths, but records of real events and discoveries. In this context, Mahabharata and other Vedic texts become not just literary works, but genuine historical artifacts that require careful analysis and interpretation. One such example is the mention of the shining weapon in Mahabharata, where the catastrophic consequences of its use can remind us of nuclear explosions from the 20th century. These texts contain deep knowledge that could provide insights into how and why civilizations developed. Comparing them with modern technologies raises many questions. What knowledge was lost, and what could have changed the course of history if it had been passed down to subsequent generations? The texts of Vedic literature are filled with mentions of unimaginable devices and technologies that might have once existed. The attitude towards these fragments can range from skepticism to admiration, but they undoubtedly open a window into a world where technology and magic could coexist, creating unique conditions for the development of human civilization. It is important to note that such descriptions not only expand our understanding of the past, but can also inspire further research and discoveries in the fields of archaeology and the history of technology. Approximately 40,000 years ago, Cro-Magnons, people of modern type, suddenly appeared in Europe, leaving behind remarkable traces of their culture. These primitive artists created cave paintings that are astonishing in their realism and expressiveness, preserved in famous caves like Lascaux and Chauvet in France. In these caves, by the flickering light of primitive lamps made from animal fat, the masters painted deer, bison, and other animals using red and black pigments derived from natural sources. The remnants of these colors can still be seen on the damp cave walls, connecting us to these ancient artists across millennia. Cro-Magnons not only painted, but also created sculptures, such as the famous Venus of Willendorf, a figurine about 12 centimeters tall that embodies the ideals of beauty and fertility of its time. It is intriguing that Cro-Magnons possessed technical achievements that far surpassed those of their predecessors. For example, they made needles with eyes, which allowed them to sew clothing from hides, and harpoons and atlatls, complex spear throwers that aided in hunting. These tools testify to their high level of skill and understanding of their resources. The question of where these skills came from remains open, as there were no apparent predecessors who could have passed on these knowledge. This is not just a mystery, but a whole layer of history that arouses the keen interest of archaeologists and historians. Each new discovery, each new study, brings us closer to understanding how these people were able to develop their culture and technologies so quickly. In the caves where they left their masterpieces, the atmosphere of creativity still permeates every crack in the walls and every drop of paint. Even after thousands of years, we can only speculate about the thoughts and feelings that moved these people when they created their works of art. Legend has it that the Hanging Gardens of Semiramis were so magnificent that they became a symbol of utopian beauty, difficult to imagine in the harsh climate of Mesopotamia. These gardens, according to ancient sources, were built in the capital of Assyria, Nineveh, around 800 years before our era by order of King Nebuchadnezzar II, in honor of his wife, who longed for her native mountains. The gardens were constructed as multi-level terraces, supported by powerful columns that rose high above the ground. Architects employed special methods to create a complex irrigation system that lifted water from the Euphrates River. This system included screw pumps and aqueducts that ensured a constant flow of water necessary for the survival of exotic plants growing on the terraces. Archaeologists studying this mythical complex have yet to find definitive remains, which has sparked endless debates about the garden's actual existence. Some researchers suggest that they may have been merely a fabrication or allegory created by ancient writers such as Strabo and Pliny the Elder. Descriptions of the gardens are filled with vivid details. The scent of flowers like roses and jasmine mixed with the aroma of fresh earth, while the babble of water in the canals created a soothing atmosphere. In the hot climate of Mesopotamia, the shade from the green terraces offered respite, contrasting with the surrounding desert and reminding us that even in the harshest natural conditions, a haven of beauty can be created. If they indeed existed, the gardens could have reached heights of up to 30 meters, making them visible from several kilometers away. Despite the lack of material evidence, the myth of the Hanging Gardens continues to inspire researchers and artists, becoming a symbol of the ideal towards which humanity aspires. The Rosetta Stone is not merely an artifact, but a key to unraveling the mysteries of an ancient civilization, shedding light on the secrets of Egyptian hieroglyphs. This black basalt block, discovered in 1799 by French troops on the Nile, measures approximately 1 meter in height, 72 centimeters in width, and 30 centimeters in thickness. Its surface is inscribed with 3 texts, the top one in ancient Greek, the middle one in Demotic, and the bottom one in hieroglyphic. This unique combination of languages made the stone an invaluable tool for studying Egyptian writing. Jean-François Champollion, a French linguist and archaeologist, succeeded in deciphering Egyptian hieroglyphs in 1822 by using the Rosetta Stone as a comparison. He noticed that some symbols recur in both the Greek and hieroglyphic texts, allowing him to match sounds and meanings. The stone's decipherment opened the doors to understanding ancient Egyptian culture, its religion, mythology, and history. Champollion demonstrated that hieroglyphs are not just symbols, but a complex system of writing where each sign can represent both a sound and an idea. His work enabled scholars to read texts that had remained undeciphered for centuries, including pharaohs' tombs and sacred texts, offering a glimpse into the life and beliefs of ancient Egypt. The stone's surface is rough, and the contrast between the dark basalt and the inscribed signs creates a sense of touching history. Each symbol is not just a letter, but a part of a vast mosaic that was assembled through the perseverance and genius of Champollion. His discoveries formed the basis for further research, leading to numerous new findings and a deeper understanding of ancient Egypt. Today, the Rosetta Stone is housed in the British Museum, continuing to attract the attention of researchers and tourists alike. Ancient peoples have always sought ways to understand the world around them, and this pursuit led to the creation of remarkable astronomical observatories, such as the Göbekli Circle. This Neolithic structure, located in Germany and dating back to around 4,900 years before our era, consists of concentric circles formed by earthen banks, wooden posts, and palisades. Each entrance in this structure was precisely aligned with the rising and setting of the sun on key days of the year, such as the solstices and equinoxes. Archaeological research has shown that the Göbekli Circle was used for observing celestial phenomena, allowing its builders to synchronize their agricultural cycles with the sun's movement. In that pre-dawn hour, when the first light pierces through the clouds, there is a sense of anticipation as the sun gradually rises between the ancient banks. This silence is broken only by the soft rustling of grass, and the spectators gathered at the observatory feel a deep connection to the cosmic cycles. Structures like Stonehenge in England, where massive stones are also aligned with the solstices, and Newgrange in Ireland, known for its entrance that is illuminated by sunlight on the winter solstice, demonstrate how important it was for ancient people to observe the heavens. Mayan observatories, such as the one in Tikal, also served for astronomical observations, allowing priests to accurately predict solar and lunar cycles. This passion for astronomy and understanding time reflects deeper cultural and religious aspects of ancient societies, where each celestial phenomenon was seen as a sign or message from the gods. The sun disk slowly emerging from the horizon creates a sense not only of physical, but also spiritual connection with the world. And in such moments, ancient observers could feel that they were not just looking at the sky, but becoming part of its endless cycles. The Göbekli Circle and similar structures are not just architectural monuments, but true repositories of knowledge that allowed ancient peoples to navigate time and space. In the heart of the Mexican peninsula of Yucatan lies the ancient city of Mérida, which rightfully claims to be one of the pearls of the Mayan civilization. The architectural features of the city present an extraordinary blend of styles, reflecting the influence not only of the Maya, but also of the Toltecs and other Mesoamerican cultures. The walls of the buildings, made of limestone, were adorned with carvings depicting gods and mythical creatures, indicating the high level of artistic skill of its builders. Mérida was not only an administrative center, but also a significant trade hub connecting different civilizations, making it unique in the context of the region's historical development. Research shows that from the 8th to the 10th century AD, the city actively traded with neighboring cultures such as the Toltecs and Aztecs, as evidenced by the discovery of rare artifacts, including pottery decorated with Toltec patterns and gold objects characteristic of Aztec culture. Excavations have uncovered unique artifacts, including carved stone statues and objects that, according to archaeologists, could have been used for ritual purposes. These findings suggest that Mérida could have been a meeting place for various cultures, highlighting its role in extensive trade networks that covered all of Central America. The dense jungle greenery surrounds the ancient walls, creating an atmosphere of mystery and mystique, while the sounds of the tropical forest enhance the feeling of walking on the land where once great traders and wise men passed. Attention to detail in architecture and artifacts shows how important this city was to its inhabitants and how much it could reveal about the interaction of various cultures. For example, in the 12th century, when Mérida reached its peak, it was home to one of the largest squares in Mesoamerica, where important ceremonies and trade deals took place. Around the square stood magnificent temples that served as places of worship and gathering for local residents. Such temples as the Temple of Kukulkan not only impress with their size, but also with unique architectural solutions that demonstrate the high skill of ancient builders. Researchers also note that many buildings in Mérida have astronomical orientations, suggesting that the city's inhabitants had deep knowledge of astronomy and used this knowledge for planning agricultural cycles and rituals. For example, on the day of the vernal equinox, sunlight falls on certain elements of the buildings, creating the effect of a snake, which is connected to the cult of the god Kukulkan. In this context, Mérida becomes not just a city, but a true symbol of cultural interpenetration, where each discovery and detail of architecture tells the story of the rich heritage and complex history of the region. Imagine a civilization that thrived for centuries on the sun-kissed island of Crete, leaving behind magnificent palaces adorned with vibrant frescoes and intricate systems of plumbing and sewage. The Minoan civilization, which existed for around 2,000 years before our era, was considered one of the most advanced of its time. Their capital was Knossos, where a vast palace complex was built in the early 2nd millennium BCE. This palace boasted not only luxurious halls, but also complex architectural features such as multi-level terraces and ventilation systems. The Minoans actively engaged in maritime trade, their ships navigating the waters of the Aegean Sea, connecting Crete with other civilizations, including Egypt and Mesopotamia. They left behind numerous artifacts, from pottery to golden jewelry, testifying to their high level of artistry and craftsmanship. However, in the early 2nd millennium BCE, a catastrophe struck this flourishing culture. Around 1600 BCE, a volcanic eruption on the island of Santorini caused a devastating tsunami. According to scientists, waves up to 30 meters high crashed onto the shores of Crete, destroying coastal cities and the maritime fleet that was the backbone of Minoan trade. Ash and smoke rising into the atmosphere blocked out the sun and caused abrupt climate changes, making agriculture nearly impossible. Researchers suggest that this eruption was the catalyst for the decline of the Minoan civilization. However, among historians, there are alternative theories. Some researchers point to the possible invasion of the Mycenaeans, who might have taken advantage of the Minoans' weakened state to seize control of Cretan territories. Others propose that internal social conflicts, sparked by economic crises and resource shortages, could have weakened the society and paved the way for its collapse. The roar of the erupting volcano, the waves engulfing the coast, and the panic among the once prosperous city dwellers, all these became symbols of the end of an era that left a deep mark on history. Archaeological excavations on Crete continue to uncover evidence of this catastrophe, including layers of ash and debris that confirm the extent of the destruction. For example, at the Knossos excavations, remains of buildings damaged by waves and artifacts indicating a sharp decline in production and trade were found. As a result of this tragic event, which occurred around 3,600 years ago, the Minoan civilization, once shining in vibrant colors, disappeared, leaving behind only mysteries and questions about how such a thing could have happened.